the things I've always been really interested in is that interface between the Picts and the Vikings, and originally from a kind of ecological, economic point of view, how that was what my PhD was how the economy changes or doesn't change when the Vikings come in, what they do that's different to what's here already. But actually in cultural terms it's really interesting as well. How does that happen and when does it happen? There's a big debate about when the Vikings arrived and what happened. And what's become obvious from, as Steve says, from Poole, from Old Scatness when we dug it, from the sites I dug up in Unst, is that what everyone's been chasing as the idea of Viking settlement are big long houses as opposed to small round houses. And they think that's when the change happened. And what became obvious at Old Scatness was that the actual earliest settlement wasn't in long houses, or at least we didn't have any evidence of that. What we had was activity in Pictish and Iron Age buildings, and it was almost a generation later, wasn't it, Steve, when they reorganised the site at Old Scatness and started to build long houses. So we've been looking in the wrong place really for that evidence. And what's so satisfying about this, I think, and what Jerry's found out, is that this seems to fit into that plot. As Steve says, you know, what the Vikings are probably doing. We even saw it on a site in the Faroes, didn't we, Steve? At Sandor, which was supposed to be just a Viking site. Two sites actually in the Faroes, and when they looked at the very bottom of both those sites, the dates were pre-Viking. In other words, someone had been in the Faroes before the Vikings got there, which everybody assumed was just a myth. And I think they'd done exactly the same thing there. They targeted what was good land on a good bay. If you're a Viking with a whopping great boat and the hardware, are you really going to go and settle yourself on some nasty little promontory somewhere and leave the natives with all the good land and the good estates? I don't think so. I think you're going to come in and find the place that works best, and where generations of people have already built up the soil for you and made it really nice and fertile. That's where you're going to be. And so this seems to be along the same lines, that maybe where we should be looking for activities, not in nice long houses, but actually in what happened before that, when they first arrived, when they were first making do and sorting out. And last night, interestingly, I was looking through the old records for these sites. We know that those long houses were excavated by Sigrid Kaland in the 70s, but they were already visible when she did it, and somebody had a go, at least somebody had a go before that. And it looks like one of the people who did it was Raleigh Radford in the 1950s, but we don't have those records either. We don't know what he found. What we do know is that one of the records reports that that longhouse behind us had an entrance on its west side, which is the side here closest to them now, with a curving wall coming out from it. Now, Norse longhouses in general do not have curving walls coming out from them, and I think what it might have been is the path round from there to here.
Yeah.
Because we saw that at Poole. There was an Iron Age roundhouse at Poole that had steps down into it from the Viking longhouse, and they used it, seemed to have used it as a kind of cellar or a storage space or something.
Yeah.
So that might be the other end of this story that we've lost till now. But we can't excavate that, so we don't know.